will just mute yourself so we'll get a good clean recording. This is not a real in-depth orientation. The main thing that I want to do with you guys is to make sure that all your questions are answered that you might have about being on a mentor team. But basically, hi Anisha, but basically, what is a mentor team? So a mentor team, they started out being 9 people, and each person had one of those lanes, the 8 lanes, and then the team leader. But it was so hard to coordinate all the schedules and everything that we're cutting it down to 4. So that's why we have 4 people. So each person takes 2 lanes. But here's the deal, is like Gary might have finance and career, and Ed might have transportation and education. But if we're talking about finance and education and career and transportation, they're going to overlap. Okay. So don't feel like when you're in your team meetings, you can't talk about other stuff. It's just if the mentee has certain needs, requirements, or goals in your lane, then you'll run with that. Okay. Like I'm trying to save for a car, or I want to go to college or vocational school, or I need help developing a budget. So there may be times when your lane isn't really covered a lot in a meeting because that's not a priority right then. Like transportation, the only transportation we may need to worry about is just getting them back and forth to school. So I want you to understand that the lanes they very much overlap. Okay. So that being said, when the team meets for the first 3 months, you meet twice a month on campus at the Phoenix Dream Center. For the first 3 months, you meet twice a month on campus. Your team leader will actually coordinate everyone's schedule so that we try to work it out for most people. If something were to happen, let's say Ed is having his team meeting and Gary has an emergency at home, you can use my Zoom account or you can use FaceTime. FaceTime works better if you have iPhones, if you want to share that person in the meeting. Okay, so we can use, technology to bring you into the meeting, but we really try as hard as we can to be in person. Gary is actually one of our teachers at the Dream Center, and he'll tell you being there in person makes a huge difference. After those first 3 months, the team will continue to meet once a month at least as a team. This is where you can start saying, hey, can we take maybe our mentee to lunch? Or can we meet at a coffee shop? Or can we go off campus? And this is where we work with the leadership, whether if it's a guy, it'll be Irene. If it's a female, it will be Caitlin. And we say, are they comfortable going off campus? And 99 times out of 100, they're going to go, yes, please take me off campus. So that's always a lot of fun for our mentees to get off campus. Also, after that first 3 months, that's when the team leader can start having what's called mini meetings, smaller meetings, with just maybe 2 mentors and the mentee. So let's say on Ed's team, Gary and Kayla both meet Quinn, who's going to be their mentee, because their team is kicking off tonight. They're going to meet him. They're going to pick him up and take him off campus somewhere, a park or something, grab a couple of sodas, and they're going to sit and talk about his plan and talk about the different lanes that they cover. So at that point, it becomes almost like just getting together with family. Every time you have a meeting with your mentee, if it's as a group, the team leader sends me a report. And at the top of the report, they will highlight anything that they need leadership or myself to know immediately. Like, our mentee was talking about applying for college and that he doesn't understand how to do it. And we're not real sure how to do it. Can somebody give us some guidelines on this? Okay, because that draws our attention to it quickly, and leadership will jump on it and get you the answers. But other than that, we allow this family to form very organically. We do not micromanage you. We don't tell you what to say and what to do. It really needs to be very, again, organic. If you feel like you have some frustrations or anything like that with the mentee or the situation, you always go to your team leader first. That keeps me from having 600 people contacting me with questions and things like that. The team leader will come to me and say, hey, our team has a question about blah, blah, blah. And I will either find out the answer or I will give them the answer immediately. If any of you think you might want to be a team leader, if you will let me know that as soon as possible, that would be great. We have a young man that we're launching tonight, but we've got 3 girls that are going to need teams in the next 4 to 6 weeks. They're all about to hit 3rd pillar. Now, let me explain to you how the pillar system works at the Dream Center. So when someone comes into the Dream Center, they're kind of on probation for the first 2 weeks because we kind of want them to go through their own orientation. And we also want to figure out, is this the program for them? If they have extremely high mental health needs above and beyond what we can serve, there are other facilities we will get them to. If it's just not a good match for them, there are lots of, we don't kick them out on the street. We find a good facility for them. Then they go into what's called first pillar. First pillar, they sit at for a pretty good long time, several months. There's a lot of pillar work to be done. They read, they go to classes, there's accountability. They can't even go downstairs for meals without somebody with them, constantly having that accountability and that partnership with another resident. Second pillar, they get a little bit more freedom. And then 3rd pillar is when everything happens. 3rd pillar, if they have a phone, they get their phone back. That opens up a whole can of worms. That's why we want the mentor team to be there to say, okay, you've got your freedom. You can now get a job full-time and or go to school full-time. You've got some decisions to make here. And a lot of times, think of it like your junior year in high school or your junior year in college. You're like done. You're like, I want to go back in the real world. I want to get my job. I want to start making money, or I want to finish my school. So that's why we need you guys to walk alongside them and kind of keep them thinking being in the bubble is a good thing. Being at the Dream Center is a good thing. To finish their pillar work, go ahead and finish all the way to 4th pillar, graduate. And then once they graduate, a lot of them will stay at the Dream Center. Because if they're in school full-time, they have no expenses at the Dream Center. If they're working full-time, they might be saving money for a car or an apartment or to buy a condo or something like that. So most of them do not leave the Dream Center. So mentor team really stays with the mentee up to a year after graduation, as long as they stay in the city. If they choose to go back to Ohio or move to New York or transfer to California or something like that, then your responsibilities are no longer valid. Some rules. And you're going to be like, with most of this, you're going to go, duh. But I say this because these situations have happened. In my tenure of 2.5 years of running mentor teams, we never drink alcohol or smoke in front of our residents. If we go to a restaurant, we take our mentee to a restaurant, we do not order a glass of wine with dinner, okay? We just want to set a really, really good example, okay? I know y'all are thinking, are we stupid? But it has happened, okay? You never want to be with the mentee all by yourself in a closed car, a closed room, a closed situation. If you're at the Dream Center and you're out in the, in the square, or you're in the dining hall or something like that, that's fine. It can be one-on-one, but you never go into their room by yourself. You never go into a room where the door is closed. I don't care if it's female and a female, a male and a male and a female. I don't care. I don't care if it's a horse and a duck. We do not close the doors, okay? This is for your protection and for theirs. If you want to take them off campus and another team member can't go with you, then we will find someone that they're friends with at the Dream Center, or someone that can be their accountability partner that can go with you if you want to take them off campus. But none of that happens for the first 2.5 to 3 months. That's kind of your orientation, your bonding time, things like that with your mentee. Some other things, we never give them money. Now, if you want to take them to coffee, or you say, hey, Joanna, you know, Sandra and Anisha, they're going to take Susie to lunch. Can we pay for her lunch? If that's agreed upon between both mentors, that's fine. But this program is not supposed to cost you money. It is your time and your commitment to excellence. It is not supposed to cost you money. You are not Santa Claus. Okay. Some of the things we ask the mentees is we'll say, you know, hey, what's your favorite foods? And they'll go, I love sushi. Can you bring sushi next time? They honestly say that out of complete innocence. And you just say, oh gosh, I wish we could, but we can bring some snacks. Okay. And you can bring snacks and things like that, but we don't bring full-blown dinner. Okay. They get plenty of food at the Dream Center. All right. Plenty of food, plenty of water, all that. We actually had a resident one time call her advocate. This is before we had mentor teams, and she had COVID. And so she was quarantined in her room, and she sent a message to her advocate, and she said, they haven't given me food or water for 3 days. Okay, so don't believe everything you hear. You have to remember, our residents are, they're traumatized. They can get triggered. What comes out of their mouth is not always necessarily the truth. You ask for transparency, and then you hope you get it. But you have to remember, sometimes they're a 4-year-old and sometimes they're a 40-year-old. And so you use a lot of discernment, and you ask a lot of questions. Okay, a lot of questions. If they say, I'm so mad at, you know, one of the girls on the hall because she took my shirt and she ripped it. Well, your automatic response, I know mine as a mom, is to say, well, did you tell somebody she took your shirt? Your actual response should be something along the lines of, well, gosh, Sarah Maria, how did that make you feel? Well, it pissed me off. Okay, how do you think you can handle that situation without causing more anger in the situation? So instead of dealing with solving the problem, you're teaching them how to work through the problem. You're going to say, how did that make you feel? And what do you think the best response would be? A kabillion times. That's your go-to phrase. How did that make you feel? How did that make you feel? Stacy, what do you think would be the best way to handle this situation? Well, I'm gonna go in her room and I'm gonna take it off her shirt, off her body. And, you know, well, okay, I think that's gonna cause conflict. Okay. Because what you're doing is you're creating the bridge between the bubble of the Dream Center, where 30-something girls live on one floor and 11 guys live on another floor, and they're in each other's space all the time. You're creating the bridge to, how would you deal with this in the real world? How would you deal with it if your boss asked you to do something you didn't want to do? Leadership said, I had to clean the bathrooms this week. Is that your chore for the week? Yes, and it's not fair. Okay, so what do you think leadership should do? Do you think they should just not let the bathrooms get cleaned? Do you think you should be pardoned from it? You've got to portray these realistic situations with them, because they get mad a lot. They get frustrated a lot. They look at the life they came from as maybe the grass was better over there, because they forget all the trauma they went through. So when you help them reason through and kind of differentiate and give them alternative strategies, then you're helping them problem solve at the Dream Center, which is going to help them problem solve later on. What are they going to do when their boss at Pizza Hut says, it's your turn to clean the bathrooms? it's not fair. I don't want to clean the bathrooms. They're going to go, okay, I'm going to do the best job cleaning those bathrooms. And they're going to be like, oh my gosh, you were the most awesome bathroom cleaner in the world. We're making you assistant manager. Now, I, on the other hand, have the philosophy of, if I don't do a good job cooking, my husband will start cooking. And that worked 25 years ago. So we're still on that trajectory. But, you know, it doesn't work for our residents. So, but there are so many different situations I could cover with you guys. But really, as the situations arise, if you don't kind of figure it out right then or figure it out as a team, then I'll step in and kind of help you. But the first meeting you have with your resident will be on Zoom. Because when you have 4 people walk into a room and the mentees never met them, it can be a little overwhelming. So the first meeting will be like this, where I'll go, here's your team, here's Mr. Ed, here's, oh, Mr. Ed, that reminds me of a horse show. Okay, Dr. Ed and Mr. Gary, and you've got Miss Stacy and Miss Kayla, and they're going to introduce themselves, and you talk about yourself a little bit, and then they talk about themselves. And then the next time you meet, you feel like you've already had that kind of introduction. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
And then once you've had that introduction, then your team leader will figure out the best day and time for everybody on the team to be there. I'll tell you, weekends tend to kind of rock. Like Saturday mornings, Sunday afternoons, those tend to be really good days, especially if people have kids or they work full time. So that tends to be when a lot of mentor teams have their meetings. But if you guys pick a night, like I know Sierra's team, they meet on Monday nights, and they always have, and it just works for them. They're having their meeting right now. So it just works for them. And I like to, if you're going to have a meeting during the week, I like for it to be earlier in the evening, because right now it's still light out here in Phoenix. But once like November, December, January hits, 6:30, 7 o'clock in the evening, it's dark. And believe me, the Dream Center is highly secure. There's cameras everywhere. Homeland Security monitors us 24/7, but it's a long way for some of you guys to drive to the Dream Center. So we try to take that into consideration. Okay, I could talk for the next 2 days about everything you need to know, but I really kind of want you guys to ask me questions and let me see kind of where your head is at. Because y'all have your manual, right? You have your this.
Yes.
And once you get your mentee, you'll get their part of the packet. So like Ed's team has already gotten Quinn's packet. So they'll know a little bit about him. So you'll know a little bit about your mentee. If you prefer a male over a female or a female over a male, I need you to let me know that as soon as possible. Because we do have, I think we've got one more guy that's coming up eligible for a mentor team in the next 2 months. And then we've got, like I said, several girls that are going to be popping up very quickly. And I don't match people up according to age or sex or hair color or skin color or educational background. I literally just let the Holy Spirit go bam, 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 bam. That's the next team. And we just pray it works. And it has so far. It's been awesome. Okay, questions?
I have a question. So you said that the whatever residents can stay at the Dream Center for a year, right? After they graduate, as long as they're going to school or working.
Yeah.
So what if somebody 3 months after graduation leaves? Are they allowed to come back, or it's just once they make the decision to leave, they can't come back?
No, Sandra, we show a lot of grace, and we have people leave at any point in their journey. They get frustrated, they get mad, they get rebellious, and they have, if they leave at any point, just walk out the door, they have 5 days, we'll hold their stuff. And then after that, we clear their room. They can still come back.
Okay.
Their stuff will be gone. If they say, I'm done, you know, I'm moving out, I've graduated, as a graduate, they get $5,000. and the mentor team advises them on how to spend that. Now, they don't get a check written to them. It has to be, what's this thing called? A W-9 for a, yeah, W-9 for an apartment, if they want to rent an apartment, or it has to be written to the car dealership when they're buying a car, or the tuition goes to the vocational school or the college. It's never given to them directly. So that's kind of how that works. If they leave, as long as my watch is talking to me, as long as they stay in the city, the mentor team can continue to work with them. And we've had that happen. Where mentees get their apartment, they have a job, they're kind of going to school part-time, and the mentor team is still walking alongside them.
Okay, when they are looking for a job, are we connected with anybody that lines them up a job, or are they actually looking through the internet or trying to find a job?
There's, I'm glad you asked that. There's a lot of different places right within walking distance of the Dream Center. I'm gonna mute everybody.
Like in January, it looks like.
Hang on. Let me get rid of echo. Okay. There's a lot of different places that they like to apply to, just as they're like, put your big toe in the water job. There's like a dress shop right around the corner. There is a McDonald's there. There's a lot of them go to work at one of the pizza places. And it's just to kind of get their big toe wet and put them back out in public. So, you know, we help them out with that. That's not a problem. We, you know, fully support them getting a job at Third Pillar if that's what they want to do. But we really encourage education. We have the Heidenreich Foundation that will actually give them the tuition to go to a vocational school. And I actually know the steps for them to go through if that's what they decide to do. And vocational schools offer everything. Like nursing the stuff, they offer, of course, you know, the typical plumbing, electrical, all of that. Those are amazing jobs. They will have job security forever if they want to do something like that. But if they prefer higher education, GCU, Grand Canyon University, works with us on scholarships, things like that. So we help them out with that. But as far as jobs, we try to keep them as close to the Dream Center as possible in the beginning, so they don't have to take an Uber or a Lyft or a bus. But some of them do. Some of them find things that they're like, I want to try that. And we're like, okay. We have one resident that he knew he wanted to be a chef. And so he took a bus every day to a restaurant about 45 minutes away. And he's been trained and all. And now he's studying to be a sous chef. So that's exciting. So we give them some guidance, and we allow you to give them guidance too. One of the things I want to caution you about, though, that, and I know none of y'all would ever do this, but it has happened, is, you know, imagine your mentee coming in and going, I'm so excited, I got a job. And you're like, what are you going to do? I'm gonna be working over at the McDonald's. And we want so badly to say, you could do so much better. But them stepping out and just facing the public every day in that situation can be huge. So we always want to go, that is a great start. That you're going to get job experience, you're going to be able to check some boxes here. Don't eat a lot of the food, or you won't fit in your clothes anymore. I mean, you know, you can have some fun with it. But I know, you know, when I was in high school, I was a Shoney's girl. I was a big boy girl. And that was a good, like, being a waitress was a good stepping stone for me before I left for college. So, you know, you learn a lot in those positions. You learn what you like and what you don't like. And you also learn that you want to go get an education a lot of the times. Okay.
Joanna, if the mentee wants to use the internet, say, to look for a job or investigate education, or even take some online education, can that be made available to them? How does that work at the Dream Center?
They can do it through the Learning Center, Gary. We can also give them a Chromebook, And they can check that out as well. And as long as, you know, they're not on restriction for something stupid they did, like, you know, if they went off campus and came back and they drug tested them and they smoked cigarettes and it came up, then they lose their privileges. And we will always let the team know, hey, your kid's in a little bit of trouble. They lost their phone. And so you're not going to hear from them for a few days. And then at that point, you go through either Caitlin or Irene, but I digress. Yes, they can have access to it. Also, Gary, with you on campus there, like if Quinn wanted some help, like navigating on the internet, you could always take him right into the learning center and be there with him, you know, just keep the door open. Okay.
Do you have any of the graduates that come back in and talk to encourage the
yeah.
new people? Okay,
I'll tell you what we have. We have graduates that come back and go to work at the Dream Center.
good.
Yeah, a lot of them. They want to give back. It's amazing.
Good.
And they'll speak to them and they'll say, I know how you feel. That's how I felt. But what I found was stick it out. Just stick it out. And that's the main thing with the mentor team. We want to show them you have a support system as long as you're going to get through the program. Because if they leave and they don't graduate from the program, they lose their mentor team. We want to make, you're an asset. Okay. You're a valuable asset to them.
So Joanna, I'm sorry. I don't know very much of what's happening. I want to join a mentor team, but I don't know like how anything works. And it seems like most everybody kind of knows what's going on. So do you like, how do I start figuring things out? I mean, are you going to give us a lane like you said, or
Yeah,
how's that all going to work?
So Amaya, the way that works is your team leader will communicate with you and I'll be copied on everything. And they'll say, okay, these are the 8 lanes and it's all in this packet.
I don't think I got that.
Okay. It should have been in your, okay, I'll make sure you get it.
In the email that you sent with all the attachments? Okay, then I did get it.
This is just the program right here. Okay.
Okay.
So it's housing, transportation, education, career, your team leader, spiritual, financial, healthcare, family. So that's why I'm saying these lanes overlap a lot. But like I might have somebody on a mentor team who's a nurse and they'll be like, I can do healthcare. I can show you all about healthcare. But you know, the main thing is the first time you go to the Dream Center, you'll be in the lobby, your mentee will meet you there. We'll walk you over to the learning center. They're supposed to have it all clean. They're supposed to have their notebook so they can take notes. And you spend the first couple of meetings just kind of playing get to know you. And let's say you're in charge of education. So when it comes to you, we'll say, Amalia, you'll say, okay, so Susie, I'm in charge of education. And do you have educational goals? What are your educational goals? So it's a lot of question asking in the beginning. But again, I don't want to micromanage you and say, well, you do this, because every team is completely unique. Completely unique.
And the 4 people always meet together with the one mentee?
The first 3 months, you'll meet 2 times a month.
Everybody
After
together.
that, you'll meet once a month as a team. Yes, and that's why I said, if something happens and one person can't make it, or all of a sudden you're traveling or you have an emergency or something, we encourage you, get with your team leader, get on FaceTime or use my Zoom account.
Okay, so we just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah, and that's not my style. I'm very, you know, but it's just, it works. It just works. It works most of the time. And when it doesn't, we fix it.
Okay.
Joanna, I don't want to get too far in the weeds on this. Just in reviewing the 8 lanes, the spiritual says to help with continued growth in the area of developing their relationship with God without promoting a specific philosophy or religion, and yet we're grounding in servant leadership and the principles of Jesus. How do you navigate that one?
So what we're saying there is you don't want to say well, I'm Catholic and this is what the Catholics believe, or I'm Protestant and this is what the Protestants believe. The main thing is to ask them questions about where are you in your walk with the Lord? What are your beliefs? What is your history? Y'all got to remember that some of our peeps were trafficked in the name of the church. I know that's horrible, but they were. Some of them were trafficked by their own family members. So when they say, I don't want to do what my parents did. My parents went to church every Sunday and then they sold me at parties on Saturday nights. We had a girl in our program that graduated. She's doing great now. She's in college full time. But at the age of 10, her parents had her dancing for their friends at parties and then sold her. So, we have to be careful not to cram it down their throats. We call ourselves faith-based, Ed, but we're not faith-forced. So we just want to figure out where they are, what they believe, what are their goals? What are your goals as far as your spiritual walk goes? Do you want a closer walk with the Lord? Or is that something you don't want to talk about right now? And some of them will say, where was God when I was raped 12 times a day? And you have to say he was sitting next to you crying. And those are hard things to talk about. They're very hard to talk about because you're thinking, yeah, where was he? I mean, and I've responded to residents like that before. I agree. Where was he? I'm sorry this happened to you. I'm sorry these horrible things happened to you. But what you do with it is your choice now. Your choices were taken away from you, but now you have choices. What are you going to do with it now? It's hard.
I also see in the spiritual growth that they said they're required to attend a weekly church service.
If they don't go, if they absolutely will not go to church service, they have to do accountability work. They can't just sleep in.
Okay. A small group or attending. So is the small group or Bible studies, are they there?
Yes. So I'm
okay.
also in charge of the Hope Education Program. And on the schedule, if a class is faith-based, if it's like Dr. Erica Moore teaches a Bible study, there's an asterisk there. If they don't want to go to that class, they don't have to, but they have to report for other duties. And most time they'd rather go to the class.
Yeah.
Because it beats the heck out of cleaning windows,
Of course.
So it's not that we punish them, but we just say, okay, what chores need to be done? Okay, we need that floor mopped. We need that. They can't just sit in their room and do this. It's a tough program. It is, but it's not boot camp. Although we have a class this summer called boot camp, but it's mainly to teach them exercise because so many of them are like, ever since I've been here, I've gained weight. And it's because the food at the Dream Center is a very carb heavy. It's very, the masses. And so I say, you're not supposed to bring them like dinner and stuff, but every once in a while, if the team says, you know what, let's all, bring like sandwich stuff, or let's bring whatever. And this is where I have teams go, but we really want to bring like a dinner or whatever. That's fine if the whole team decides that. But again, this program is not supposed to cost you money. It is not supposed to be expensive. Okay. And you're going to want to whip out your wallet every time you go to the Dream Center to buy them new shoes or new this or new that. If you know that they need something, like you look down and their shoes are worn out, just send me a message. Have your team leader, let me rephrase that, have your team leader send me a message because I can take care of that. I can call Pete over at Dream Goods and take care of it in 24 hours. We have a closet they can get stuff from, but food is really their biggest trigger. That's what food makes them happy, right, Gary? You take snacks to class, you got them. So yeah, like you can take like chips and salsa or fruit or something like that, but don't feel like you have to do a full-blown meal. Next question.
Joanna, what are some of the challenges that you've seen in this program with the
Yep.
mentors and the mentees?
I'll tell you the number one challenge I see. Lack of transparency. They tell Caitlin or Irene one thing as far as their plan goes. They tell me something else, and they tell their team something else.
So how do we align that goal to make it one seamless process?
It's hard because your team leader will send me a report as to what was discussed in the meeting, but if there's anything confidential said, then that team leader will just say there were some confidential conversations held, but I don't feel like there were any triggers. You know, they didn't get upset and start crying or something. They didn't say, I want to kill myself or something like that. It was all just, maybe it might have been emotional. So I immediately, as soon as I get that report, I read through it. I make sure that I highlight anything that I want Irene or Caitlin or Shauna Sexton, who's our director, to know immediately. And I send it on to them. So they have that report. They may see in that report that we just had an incident with someone, you know, Susie wants to move to, you know, Colorado or something as soon as possible. And so I highlight that. When the leadership sees it, they're like, we didn't know about this. So they sit down and have a conversation. Well, then the mentee might say, well, no, I was just thinking that might be a good idea. And things just, yeah. So that's where it can get tricky. It really can. And the main thing the mentor team really wants to focus on is keeping them there at least through graduation. Just keep them at the Dream Center. Get them to not quit, because they want to quit so bad by fourth pillar. It's like your senior year in high school or your senior year in college. You are ready to check out. You're ready for your life to begin. And they may not be ready. Mentally, spiritually, financially, they may not be ready yet. The big thing is with the finance person, get ready, because you got to teach them how to do a budget. They think if they're making $500 a month at a job part-time, that they are rich. And so we show them, you're doing great, keep saving your money, but it's going to take a little bit more than that to live on your own.
Are the kiddos, are they aligned with the banking? How are they able to keep a tab of what they're making? How, you know, how we
Some
do
of
that?
them, so some of them have bank accounts, but the way it works at the Dream Center is their first paycheck they get to keep. That's their reward for, go for it. Go to get whatever you want, blow it. After that, they keep 20% and 80% goes into an account that the Dream Center holds for them.
Okay.
And they get that back when they get ready to graduate or leave or whatever. They've got this nice little nest egg.
If
So-
a kid does become suicidal while they're staying there, what resources are available
have-
to them?
We have counselors. We'll put them on accountability watch. Andrew, most of the anger and the stress and the temperedness, is that a word? Happens in the summer. The Hope Education Program is pretty much Monday through Thursday classes all day from morning until dinner at 4 o'clock. But in the summer, a lot of teachers take off for the summer. Do you blame them? And so there's some more downtime available to them, as well as the heat gets to them. They have air conditioning, but it gets to all of us. And if you haven't been to the Dream Center, please go and take a tour. First Saturday of each month, along with orientation, or noon every Tuesday. It's built like an amphitheater, so it just encapsulates that heat. And they get short-tempered. And you know, sometimes we'll have a girl say, I'm just going to jump off the 4th floor balcony. And we're like, that's not funny. Like, we're going to put you in lockdown. Like, you know, you're going to be in your room with accountability, someone holding your hand for the next 48 hours. Because it's scary. It can happen. They're angry in the summer.
So I have a question. So you said there's 3 girls that are coming out, or so do you assign, like for me, I don't have a team or anything. So you just put me wherever?
Yeah, it just kind of, it's real
Like you
funny.
said.
It's just kind of like the next 4 with a team leader, bam, they go to this one, and it just kind of works out. Like,
So you'll just let me know?
yeah, my control freakedness gets really crazy about this, but I have to be trusting. Yeah. Yeah. And usually, I mean, it's 4 people, and I always say, if a married couple wants to mentor together, or we had a girl and her fiance that they mentored together, and then they had other people on the team, that worked out great. But we don't want more than 2 people from the same family to be on a team, because then it becomes a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And it's really important that you guys don't talk about your mentee by name. Don't talk about them on social media. You never put their picture on social media. You can take their picture if they're okay with it. If they have a phone, which most of them will by Third Pillar, you can have their phone number. You always want to make sure that if you are texting with your mentee, that your team leader is in on it. So that that team leader, if they see something, they can send it to me, and we keep the communication lines open. But normally the team leader will have everybody in a group text, including the mentee and myself. If it's a male, Irene Orr, who's in charge of the men's program, will also be in that group. If it's a female, Caitlin Fugelstadt will also be in it. And we're just in it just to monitor it. We don't jump in and tell you what to do, anything like that. We're just monitoring. It's for your safety and theirs.
So Joanna, the next step, you will give us an email telling us who's on our team with that information. And
Yeah,
when
but
we
it's
start?
going to be, we have a team launching tonight in about 2 minutes. And, but it's probably going to be the end of August, 1st of September, before the next 2 to 3 teams are formed. So don't feel like I'm ignoring you. I've got everybody in the loop. And what I'll do is I'll send out an email, and it'll say, hey, and this is why I need to know who wants to be a team leader. Just message me privately if you think you might want to be a team leader. And I'll say, here's the team leader and the 3 people on the team. Bam, you guys have this person. Let's schedule our Zoom call. And that's where you'll meet them. Andrew, when are you going to be back? September?
Yeah, right at the end of August.
End of August, 1st September. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, that's good. All right. Yeah.
And then there's an orientation that we need to take, correct?
The orientation that Stephanie Lang does at the Dream Center is the first Saturday of each month. I really seriously encourage you guys, please, please, please go do that. She will cover all the rules and guidelines and everything for the Dream Center. We don't have time to do that here, but that's something that we do say is mandatory. But if you can't get to it the 1st of August or the 1st of September, the 1st of October is fine.
Okay.
As long as it's in the next couple of months.
Yeah, that was my next question because I can't do it till October. So thank you for
Okay, yeah,
clarifying that.
that's fine. That's fine. Okay, nobody has any other questions? Anisha, no questions? Sarah Maria? No? Stacy? No questions? Are y'all excited?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so the next thing that'll happen is, let me know if you want to be a team leader. If you do, thank you, thank you, thank you. I probably need 4 right now. And see, there's Irene. She's signing on so everybody can meet Quinn. Hi, Irene. I'm just closing up orientation. Just hang tight, sit tight. Well, don't
About 3 minutes away.
Okay, all right. But yeah, so that we're getting ready to launch a team tonight, and Irene will tell the team a little bit about the mentee, and then they'll get to know each other a little bit better. So if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to stop our recording.